All right. You like that?
Yeah, that's
all
great.
Right, so we're going to start another episode of Minding Our Business with Jess and Jonesy. Today we have Heather. She is a consultant, author, speaker. I am meeting her for the first time, so I'm going to let Dan finish the introduction.
Well, dang, you grabbed the three most powerful words I wanted to use. And we're going to ask Heather which order you prefer them to be used in. Speaker, author, consultant. I think that's what we have it on your website listed as.
I like that. I like speaker, author, consultant.
Yeah. Even though I believe you wrote the book first before becoming a speaker.
I did write the book first. Yes.
Got it. And this is so important for semantics. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about that part. Yeah. They're like, what are we listening to right now? No, this is exciting. So Heather has been a client of my agency for about 6 months now. She was working in like operations management, change management for a large organization and decided to do that for more businesses, right? That's the best thing you can do for yourself is to spread your gift to other organizations who need it rather than being captive to one while still helping that previous organization, while simultaneously launching your career as a keynote speaker and leveraging your experience as an author too. So 3 different, entrepreneurial sets and lines of businesses here that you've managed to kind of intertwine and create an ecosystem with, which is it's so cool, but obviously doesn't come without some sort of struggles, growth, or barriers. So I will ask you to fill in some gaps on your credentials and accolades that I may have missed.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first I want to be, what do I want to do here? I just want to clarify what I've done, what I'm doing. So I continue to be the COO of a small corporate training company. And I've been doing that for, I would say, about 7 years now. Mm-hmm. And so the skills that I have learned by running a small company as the COO are the skills that I am applying to my consulting work. And so even though I'm still working at my current employer, I am also providing consulting in the area of operations and organizational development. And part of that comes from getting a master's degree in adult and organizational development. And so that's really where my love of operations and organizational development came from. So I filled in some of the gaps. I'm not sure if there are more gaps that should be filled in, but I feel like that's a pretty good overview.
I think that's a pretty important one, making that distinction. I was erroneous about the relationship becoming contractual. More important semantics than the order of your 3 specific titles. So thank you for that. You mentioned where your love for that came from. I'm going to hedge on the fact that it didn't come from the work product, but rather something else that led you down that path, some experiences. You talk about positivity and you use the word, the 3 Ps, the 3 Ps, right? That's one of the iterations of your brand. Where did that come from?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
And maybe I can make it easier because your work life is not, it's an iteration of, but it's not the journey that led, it wasn't like it's part of the transformation, but it's not the underlying reason for the why.
Yeah. So let me I feel like you've created a curiosity gap here with the 3 Ps.
Yeah. Sorry, I jumped around a little bit here.
The 3 Ps are purpose plus process equals progress. And so what I'm really passionate about is that people can have amazing aspirations and missions and purpose, but without a strong process to move them forward towards those goals, we tend to spin our wheels and not accomplish those amazing things. So for a long time, I've been really interested in operational efficiency and organizational development because that is how we turn dreams into reality. So that's what really excites me about it. And actually, even when I started my current job, I remember during my interview, the owner of the company at the time was like, "So Heather, what do you really want to be doing?" And I was interviewing for an account management role. Okay. And I'd completed my master's degree by this point. She's like, "What do you really want to be doing?" And I was like, "Well, I want to be doing management consulting. I want to help companies be more effective at what they do. And she was like, well, why are you interviewing for this job right now then? And, I mean, the answer was that job made sense in that moment. I didn't feel like I had the experience yet to be able to go out and help companies and organizations do a better job, because everything I knew came from the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to get more experience in the real world. And now I've been with this company for 11 years, and I've gotten to work with companies of all different sizes and see what challenges come up. And also just moving from the account management role to the COO role, getting to see what it takes to operate a company, and things that sound great in theory, in operations, there's a lot more to be aware of. So it was really exciting, like the growth journey that I've been on with Brody Professional Development, which is where I am now. And I'm also just really excited about now taking that into other organizations, and particularly mission-driven organizations.
I love everything about your solution and your framework, because it like piggybacks right off of our last episode we literally just did with an entrepreneur who self-admittedly started so many different projects because his word was the gumption. And that's like one word I attribute to entrepreneurs, is the willingness to jump in and do. But a dream and a good idea without strategy, without a framework, without structure, without a plan, it will, at worst will fall flat. At best, it'll never reach its full potential. And that's where you come in. And it's applicable down to a solopreneur, into, the size of the businesses that you're working with now, which, small business, that even runs the gamut, because the legal definition has to do with number of employees and number of revenue. But the difference between a solopreneur to a mom and pop retail shop to even a 10-person regional organization is huge.
Yes.
It's huge. But the same systems, or at least the foundations of the same systems, agree or disagree, can be applied to all three.
I think so. I mean, I'm a fan of entrepreneurial operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And they do build it out in such a way that you can start your own business as one person and already start thinking about how you're going to apply that to your organization. But I would say with modifications, as you are one person versus two people versus 10 people versus more and more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing that we didn't, I mean, maybe you're getting there, but the other thing that we didn't dive into yet was the whole speaking element.
Right.
I just wanted to dive into that. I was going to say, okay, now I'm wondering how she got to speaking and what exactly you're speaking about. And then we have a book that you wrote that I don't know about yet. So two things I definitely want to dive into.
So when we were talking before the episode, and Jess was doing her research on it, she's like, "Oh, I want to do that. I want to be the keynote speaker."
Oh,
so yeah, you've already inspired one before the episode even drops.
One inspired.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to know what you're going to talk about.
I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet.
You'll get there. I didn't know what I was going to talk about when I first got started. So gosh, the book, I started the book in like 2013.
All right. So a little backstory on the book, The Life with Libby. So just give us the
okay,
we'll
sure.
link in there.
And good idea. Title is helpful. The book is called Life of Libby: Chasing Peace and Justice with Humor, Guts, and Passion. And so I co-wrote this book with a lifelong peace and justice activist named Libby Frank, who got started in the 1940s with desegregating public swimming pools and advocating for racial equality, and continued on into a variety of other social justice and peace areas. I went to this public speaking class. It was a 2-day course. Can I mention the name of the company, or should I?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, as long as they are. That's
Oh yeah, totally. Like, can you imagine if they're like, "Don't tell anyone you came here"?
Right. It's like the first rule of Fight Club.
Yeah, so I went to a 2-day course with Heroic Public Speaking, which is in Lambertville, New Jersey, only because I was like, oh, like I'm going out and doing all these author events and trying to promote the book, and I'm really not good at being in front of a group. So I just went to this course so that I could get a little bit better at, being in front of the group as I'm talking about the book. And after the 2 days, I was like, and by the way, this was a starter course, right? This isn't the whole course, the 2 days. So after the 2 days, I was like, oh, wow, I have so much more to say than just like, hey, check out this book, right? And so that's when I was like, wow, I want to do the whole course. I did the whole 6-month course, and I got to find my message. And really what the talk does is it condenses everything I learned from Libby's experiences and my own experiences into an actionable framework. And it actually works really nicely with the consulting because it's not organization focused, right? It's individual focused. And it's really focused on helping individuals see, like, one person can make a difference in the world, right? One person can do that. But we don't do that by ourselves. We do that by joining with other people and finding allies and working on things together. And the last piece of it is we also don't create positive change by ignoring or suppressing people who see things differently than us. We actually have to talk to the people who disagree with us, and we have to be open to different perspectives if we want to create positive change, because we only experience our own reality, and people see things in different ways because they've had different experiences. So if we want to not only get the best solutions, but also build enough momentum to create change, those conversations need to happen. And that's what all went into the talk. And it all is based on real life experiences that Libby had and that I had, and it has happened through history. But built into that is also a framework. And there are steps that people can take, and it doesn't have to be in order actually, but just, rather than stewing and feeling like, oh, things aren't the way they should be and it's never going to change, like, pick something on the framework and just be like, you know what, I could do this thing. I could focus on I could do some self-reflection and focus on my purpose and where I want to focus my efforts. I could look at finding allies and how I can do this kind of work that I care about with other people. So that is the talk.
So that all sounds amazing for somebody who is open to it. And you just mentioned that's kind of a key requirement to be able to take those steps is having that willingness. What about, we got allies, what about the adversaries? Are there outspoken adversaries or adversaries who are of that mindset? And how does that factor in? Meaning they're sort of neutral third parties, but they're in that adversarial mindset of, I guess the stewing is kind of what you said.
The stewing. I think there's a lot of stewing on all sides.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of finger pointing. I'm just trying to think about how to frame my response to your question.
All right. So let me simplify it, because I probably made it too complicated, as I always do.
I agree. I think he made that too complicated. Yeah. I'm like, you talk so smart.
Because I just use a bunch of filler words and sound intelligent. Because
I'm over here just like wanting to ask you, like, so, like, how did your first talk go? Were you nervous? Like, how did you mentally prepare for it? Do you feel a lot of pressure? And then Dan's over here throwing in like,
name your top 3 adversaries, and what have they said against you?
Okay, let me jump in. Let me jump in about the adversaries, because here's what I think about the adversaries. This is gonna have to get into politics just a little bit. I don't know how your listeners feel about politics, but
you nailed it on the head. We should all be able to speak and have opinions, and I think that I want this to be that space. Yeah. So share what you would like to share.
So here's what I will say is that whether you are leaning left or like all the way on the left, or whether you're leaning right or all the way on the right, there is a perception in our society that people on the left and people on the right are truly enemies of each other. And I think sometimes that is true, but I think it's much more rare than we are led to believe. So yes, if you're going to have a communication, if you're going to talk to people who see things differently than you, there has to be an openness on both sides ultimately, but it can start with you, because a lot of times if you demonstrate openness and create a safe environment for dialogue, then the other person will also be able to open up a bit and ask some questions and try to understand where you're coming from. But what I found in my own experience, I actually reached out to someone that I didn't know. He was a friend of my cousin on Facebook. So a Facebook friend of my cousin. And my cousin was very liberal. And this was leading up to Trump's first election. Mm-hmm. And so this guy was responding to my cousin's liberal posts with like calm, rational responses in support of Trump. And I decided I was going to reach out to him because I needed to understand what the heck is going on right now. Like, I don't understand why all these people support Trump. So I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, like, we don't know each other yet, but I'd love to have a conversation with you about your perspective on today's politics. And he responded, and we had a series of conversations, and not one of them lasted less than an hour. Some of them were like 2 hours. I mean, we were really talking about stuff. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just talking about all the things that people fight about, like gun control, climate change, systemic racism, poverty, like all these different topics. And we got to understand where each of us was coming from. But what was really surprising to me is that we shared so many of the same values, and we even wanted so many of the same outcomes. Like, it was truly surprising to me, but it was really hopeful to me, because what that tells me is people on the other side of the political spectrum want many of the same things, you know, and we're being led down different paths in terms of how we get those things.
Yeah, you nailed that on the head.
I would say very few people, if any, are 100% single issue focused. Well, focused maybe, but that's all that matters. Probably not true. Mm-hmm. Definitely not true. By even this one anecdote tells me, yeah, you may feel strongly about certain single issues, but there's always multiple layers. Nothing's black and white. Everything's nuanced and on a scale.
I always preach that, like, we also can't make everybody happy. It's like impossible that like what's best for me is going to be best for you. It's just impossible. And like I feel bad for politicians and leaders sometimes, because like you can only do the best that you can to try and please so many people. Even like doctors, people go to the doctors, like if they don't know exactly what's wrong with you, they're so mad. I'm like, these are people who are like trying to like, they're not God.
Yeah.
But the world's just very entitled, and I wish there was more understanding. But I do agree that there is more people that we do have in common that are less extreme. We're just not the ones having the conversations, I think, because we're burnt out from the hate from the extreme sides.
I think people want to have allies, but it's easier to be adversarial because it's self-defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry to pivot
I'm
sorry.
So that was all deep. Can we get back to the questions about? So tell me about your first talk.
Yeah,
and
I'm very, very curious what
I know you are. Yeah.
What your first talk was, where it was, how it felt.
Well, this is assuming I've had a first talk.
Wait, you didn't?
No, we have video footage of you. We know it's heatherschaffer.com. There's evidence.
That was my first demo video. So that was pretty exciting. I got up on a stage and I delivered a 4.5-minute talk. But I think that is less interesting than another question I could answer. which is like what will be my first talk. I mean, look, I've talked to people before, right? Like I've been in front of people, I've been on, author panels. I prepare ahead of time, kind of approximately what I want to say. But right now I am preparing for my first talk.
Okay, so then let me pivot if I can. So that demo talk, getting up to do that and that experience was less overwhelming because in different contexts, you've done that plenty of times. So maybe you could suggest something to somebody who sees themselves doing that, but how would they ramp themselves up? Doing panels, doing podcasts? What do you got for that audience?
For people who want to speak,
Yeah.
I would say it's a totally different animal. What's common between being on a panel or a podcast or doing a book talk is you're going to want to have vocal variety, right? You're going to want people to be interested. You're going to want a few stories at your fingertips. Ideally, if you know some of the questions ahead of time, you want to have an idea of how you're going to respond to them.
They were in your email, I promise.
Maybe even write them down, like maybe even write down your response and say it out loud a few times, not so that you can say it exactly that way, but just so that you have some muscle memory about how you want to respond to the questions, right? But that's a very different animal than getting on a stage in front of a group of people and speaking. The preparation that it took for me to do that video was extensive. I would say it was about 6 weeks of preparation for a 4.5-minute talk where I was scripting out exactly what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, where I was going to be on the stage, what I was going to be doing with my body, what kind of tone of voice I was using, how I wanted to make people feel in each moment. All of that was planned and rehearsed. And then when you get up there and you have an audience in front of you, it's a completely different experience. It is a completely different experience. So right now I am preparing to do like a 1-hour keynote.
Oh, wow. Whole hour.
An hour, yes. I mean, probably it'll be like 50 or 55 minutes, but so I've been like rehearsing. I've been modifying and editing as I go. And I finally I actually rehearsed on a stage that's local to me. I got up on a stage. I had no audience. I was just rehearsing on a stage because, I rehearse in the 3rd floor of my house right now. Then I'm like, all right, time to do a rehearsal with people in the audience. Still a rehearsal. I had 2 people in the audience. I get on the stage. I forget my line every minute. Every minute I'm like, I don't know what comes next. Like if you were, I'm like, I know this. It's because there's live people looking at me while I'm talking. I'm like, holy moly, this is a lot harder. So the next step in my preparation is going to be that talk with warm bodies in front of me who will probably want to give me feedback afterwards, and that's okay. But really what's even more powerful is just having a live person looking at you while you're doing that talk.
Yeah, I not comparable. I did a stint in stand-up comedy. And I didn't realize how much, like, because we had professionals come and teach the class. No, exactly how you're doing. Like they rehearse, they stick on their script, and I'm telling you, I'm like, I can't get up there and say the same thing. But they're like, no, they're like, you need to pick your persona. You're an actor when you're up there. I just never thought of it like that. And even what you're saying now is like, oh, like where I'm standing on stage. Like whenever I watch like keynotes, I'm like, that person's just so confident and they're up there just telling their story.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't think that you're spending 6 weeks like actually like mapping out where you're going to walk on stage and that detailed.
But now it makes sense, doesn't it? Because yours was a 5-minute bit and you did an entire like training course to get to that point.
Yeah. But mostly it was mostly just trying to memorize and getting that muscle memory, because even if I couldn't remember it exactly, at least I could quickly replace a word that would sometimes sound like it went there. But it's also very different because like if I messed up, it's okay for them to laugh at me in that setting. You forget and people are laughing, it might be a little different.
You know what? I think the two things are more similar than people realize. And man, we have really pulled back the curtain on public speaking right now, because that's, you go and see someone speak and you're like, wow, they're so good at speaking, like that's hours and hours and hours of preparation.
And that's where my imposter syndrome comes in, because I can't do what either one of you are doing, but give me a topic I'm passionate about and with a slide deck behind me, and I can go for hours. But I'm still unrefined, and I don't practice it that much.
Yeah.
I don't practice it that much because it's not, it could be a productive modality for me from a sales perspective. But I choose not to. And now let's segue right into pivoting. Okay. So earlier this year, you and I worked on some projects to get your brand launched, and it was two, somewhat related, intertwined, but separate ecosystems for 3P Allies, the consulting brand, and then, Heather Shafter, the speaker, author, consultant.
Yes.
We've recently, because you've chosen this strategy, right? To make the speaking the primary focus, which I, without even hesitation, said, as the marketing expert, said that's brilliant, because we can just funnel one to the other, with minimal friction, with minimal, oh, this didn't work, this, we failed at this, which I experience all the time with clients and businesses. For you, it just seemed like this. So is there a reason why? Did you have other experiences that led to why that was such an easy transition for you?
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, from the very beginning, I have been told by multiple people not to launch two services at the same time. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm doing it anyway.
Well, you're like, yep, we've all done this. Yeah.
And for months, I just kept saying like, wow, this is really hard, but I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. And there just came a time where I finally accepted that if I want to move forward as quickly as I'd like to move forward, then I have to choose what to focus on first. And it's not like I need to stop one or the other, but one has to be the primary focus.
Sure.
And it made sense to me that speaking be the first primary focus for a variety of reasons. But it actually felt really good, because it was something I knew all along that I had to do, and I just was resisting and I didn't want to. But when I finally kind of accepted and was like, okay, this is what needs to happen. I see now why. I'm very much a why person. Like, if I don't know the why, I'm like, I'm not listening to you. I don't believe it.
That's very, very, very important, because the why can overcome the emotions and the ego driven, no, I'm contrarian and I will do two at the same time. No, here's why, because you cannot be efficient at two things at the same time. Oh, makes sense.
Yes. And I had to live it. And I had to have the experience of feeling frustrated that I wasn't moving as quickly on either front as I wanted to. And I felt like I was just spinning my wheels in place. So I had to have the experience myself. And luckily, it only took me a few months. I mean, it could have taken me a lot longer to give that up.
Do you ever I feel like to be a speaker, you have to have like some kind of like really amazing confidence behind yourself. Do you like consider yourself like a really confident person? Like if you're like getting up on stage and you're talking, are you thinking about what other people might be thinking? Like what does that look like for you?
I think being a very confident person makes it easier to be a speaker, but many speakers struggle with confidence. And, I've talked to people who have been professional speakers for a long time and they still struggle with confidence. And I think that in some ways, struggling with confidence makes you a better speaker, because it pushes you to keep getting better and keep being the best that you can be. Because when you get up on that stage, you want people to really experience the impact that you're trying to create.
So you're up on stage, and I came and I saw you speak.
Mhm.
What is the message that you want me to walk away with?
I want you to know that your actions matter, that you can have a positive impact on what's going on in the world. I want you to be motivated to find people who care about the same things you do and to really focus on that rather than trying to solve all problems at the same time, getting back to what we just talked about. You can't focus on all the problems at once. So being really motivated to say, all right, who's out here doing this already and who can I join forces with so that I can add my effort and energy to that and help move that forward. And I want you to realize that half the world isn't against you, that what we are led to believe, that we are a country divided in half and that one half hates the other half, isn't actually true. And that there are more potential allies, way more potential allies than we realize.
That may be a perfect ending right there.
Yeah.
That is a way to wrap it up.
Yeah, I will say I really
damn.
look forward to when you do get your first talk, either one being there or at least seeing it go viral on YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah, you're getting an invite. You're both getting an invite.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So yeah, before we go, you also have your own podcast, Chasing Peace and Justice podcast. Just give us a quick wrap on that and where we can find it, just so people can check you out there.
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Substack. I've got a blog and a podcast on Substack. The podcast is also on Spotify and Apple, which all podcasts must be on. And really what I'm doing is having conversations with people who are taking actions for positive change to inspire people to do their own thing.
How many episodes have you done, if you know offhand?
Oh my goodness. 12 maybe?
Okay, you're in the top 5% podcast in the world now. Once you hit 20, you're a 1%er.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think this is number 18 for us with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're inching our way up there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But we end every episode the same way, and there's no exceptions for anybody.
Okay.
So what we do, don't know why, we always end with a leg raise.
We just do a high kick.
Okay, me too then? Okay.
Yeah, no exceptions for anybody.
Wait, you have to see my dirty sandals.
I mean, you're in good company here. That's it. We're done.